David Kahn was a young astronomy student who loved the night sky more than anything else in the world. While most people slept, he spent his nights outside looking at the stars through his old telescope. The stars made him feel peaceful. They reminded him that there was something bigger than everyday life, something beyond the noise of the city, the deadlines and the endless scrolling on phones. Every weekend, David went to a quiet hill outside his small city. It was a lonely place, but he liked it that way. The only sounds were the whisper of the wind and the soft chirping of crickets. He always carried a notebook, a flashlight, and a small thermos of tea. That night seemed just like any other, until the stars began to move. At first he thought it was just his imagination, but soon one of the stars grew brighter and brighter until it became a glowing object moving slowly across the sky. It wasn't blinking like an airplane. It wasn't falling like a meteor. It was hovering. David's heart started beating fast. He fixed his telescope on it and adjusted the focus. What he saw made his hands shake, a shining silver craft shaped like a crystal gliding silently through the night. It wasn't big, but it moved like it was alive, almost breathing. He quickly grabbed his phone to record it, but the screen froze and turned black. The compass on his watch spun wildly. Every electronic thing around him stopped working. The only light that remained was the strange silver glow from the sky. Then, in one powerful flash, the craft shot downward, not crashing, but landing softly behind the hill. David stood frozen. His mind told him to run, but his curiosity was stronger than his fear. He took his flashlight and started walking toward the glowing spot. The closer he went, the warmer the air felt. There was a low hum in the ground, like the earth itself was vibrating. When he reached the top of the hill, he saw it clearly, a circular craft half buried in the grass. It was beautiful and strange, covered in glowing patterns that changed color every few seconds. He whispered to himself, "This can't be real." Then something happened. A beam of soft blue light came from the center of the craft and wrapped around him like mist. It wasn't painful, but it felt heavy, almost magnetic. Before David could move or scream, the world faded. Everything went silent. When he opened his eyes again, he was no longer on the hill. He was lying on a smooth surface that looked like glass but felt warm. The air smelled clean, almost too clean, like rain and metal. Around him, the walls shimmered as if made of light itself. He tried to sit up, but his body felt light, almost weightless. Then he heard voices, or maybe thoughts. They weren't coming from his ears, but directly into his mind. The language was strange, yet somehow he understood the meaning. "Do not be afraid," a calm voice said. "You are safe here." David looked around and saw tall, graceful figures walking toward him. Their skin glowed faintly like moonlight, and their eyes were bright and kind but inhuman. They didn't walk, they seemed to glide. He whispered, "Who are you?" The tallest figure stepped forward and placed a hand over its heart, a gesture that felt both respectful and formal. "We are the Lyrians," the being said softly. "You were chosen, human. Chosen? For what?" David asked, still shaking. Before he could get an answer, the crowd of beings moved aside. The air seemed to shimmer, and another figure entered the room. Taller, more radiant, wearing a flowing silver robe that sparkled like the night sky. Her presence filled the room with quiet power. It was the alien queen. Her eyes glowed a deep blue, calm yet commanding. Her face was neither young nor old, but timeless, like someone who had seen both creation and silence. "Human," she said, her voice echoing not through the air but inside his thoughts. "You have entered our realm not by mistake but by destiny." David didn't know what to say. His heart was beating so fast that it felt like it would burst. "I don't understand," he whispered. "I didn't come here on purpose." The queen's expression softened. "No one ever does. The stars choose their own messenger." She raised her hand and a holographic light appeared in front of them, a spinning sphere showing Earth surrounded by streams of energy. "Our world and yours are bound by an ancient thread," she explained. "A human was destined to cross into our realm when the time of change arrived." David took a small step back. "You mean me?" The queen nodded slowly. "Yes, you." He couldn't believe it. He was just a student, not a hero or a scientist. "Why him?" The queen looked at him with eyes full of wisdom. "You do not yet see it, but your arrival means balance. You are the one written in our prophecy." David's head was spinning. He didn't believe in prophecies. He wanted to go home. But before he could say anything, A smaller figure entered the room, graceful, glowing, and silent. She looked younger than the others, with softer light in her eyes. Her presence calmed everything around her. The queen's voice became warm. "This is my daughter, Princess Serafina." David and Serafina looked at each other. For a moment, time seemed to stop. Her eyes reflected the stars, not like mirrors, but like living light. She looked curious, almost shy. The queen turned back to David. "Your journey begins now. There is much you must understand. You are not a prisoner here, human. You are a part of something greater." David wanted to speak, to ask questions, but no words came out. He felt a strange mix of fear and wonder. The queen gestured to the others, and they led him down a hallway filled with glowing walls. Outside, through a transparent dome, he saw stars moving in slow, beautiful patterns. Earth was visible, a small blue ball in the distance. For the first time in his life, David truly felt how small he was, and how big the universe could be. That night, as he lay in a chamber that hummed softly with light, he couldn't sleep. His mind was full of questions. Who were these beings? Why did they bring him here? And what did the queen mean by destiny? But somewhere inside him, a quiet voice whispered that everything was about to change, forever, and he wasn't sure if he was ready for what came next. Avid Khan woke up feeling lighter than air. For a moment, he didn't remember where he was. Then he saw the glowing walls and the silver ceiling that curved like a dome above him, and it all came back: the strange ship, the alien queen, and the soft blue light that had brought him here. He slowly got up. The floor felt warm and smooth under his feet, like walking on soft glass. As he looked around, he realized there were no doors or windows. But the walls changed color when he moved closer, opening silently whenever he thought of leaving. He stepped out and found himself in a long hallway. The air smelled clean, like fresh rain. Every few steps he saw what looked like paintings, but instead of colors, they were made of light. They showed galaxies, strange planets, and stars spinning together like a dance. Suddenly, a familiar figure appeared, one of the tall Lyrians who had helped him before. Its voice spoke gently inside his mind. "Human David, the queen wishes to see you." David nodded, feeling a mix of fear and curiosity. He followed quietly. The hallway led to a large chamber filled with floating crystals that moved slowly like bubbles in the air. At the center stood the alien queen, her robe glowing faintly with silver and gold light. Beside her was Princess Serafina, the one he had met the night before. The queen looked at him kindly. "You slept well, I hope," she said in her soft, musical tone. "I think so," David replied nervously. "It's hard to tell time here," the queen smiled gently. "In our realm, time does not move the same as yours. Here, only the heart knows what hour it is." David didn't know how to respond. He simply stood still, waiting. Then the queen's expression changed. She became serious, her eyes glowing brighter. "David Khan of Earth," she began, "you were brought here because of a prophecy written many centuries ago. It spoke of a traveler from the blue planet who would bring balance to our people." David frowned slightly. "Balance? I don't understand. I'm not anyone special. I'm just a student who loves stars." The queen raised her hand and a hologram appeared, a shining symbol made of light. It looked like a human figure surrounded by circles. "This is the sign of the unity bond," she explained. "It tells of two worlds, human and Lyrian, that will join through trust, peace, and heart." David stared at the symbol. "But what does that have to do with me?" The queen took a slow breath. Her voice was calm but firm. "You are the one chosen to unite our worlds. To do that, you must marry my daughter, Princess Serafina." David's eyes widened in shock. "What?" he whispered. "Marry her, but—" "That's impossible. I'm human." "She's Lyrian," the queen finished for him. "Yes, that is exactly why you must unite. Only by joining two beings from different worlds can the prophecy be fulfilled." David shook his head slowly. "I can't. I didn't come here for this. I don't even know her." Serafina looked at him quietly, her eyes shining like soft blue fire. She didn't look angry. She looked curious, almost thoughtful. The queen walked closer, her voice now gentle but full of sadness. "Our world is not as perfect as it seems, David. The energy that protects Lyra is fading. Our people are divided. Some wish to hide forever among the stars. Others wish to conquer new worlds. The prophecy says a union between a human and a Lyrian will create harmony again. Without it, our world may fall apart." David looked down, feeling his heart race. He could feel the weight of her words. He had never imagined being part of something this big. "But why me?" he asked softly. "Why not another human? Why not someone smarter, stronger, or braver?" The queen smiled kindly. "Because it was never about power or strength. It was about heart. You were chosen because you look at the stars not to own them, but to understand them." David had no answer. The queen's words touched something deep inside him. He remembered all those lonely nights under the sky, how he used to wonder if anyone else was out there watching him too. Maybe this was the answer to that question. Still, he was afraid. "I don't know if I can do this," he said softly. "I just want to go home." The queen lowered her head slightly. "You may go if you wish. We do not keep guests by force. But if you leave, our world may lose its last hope for peace." The silence in the chamber grew heavy. Even Serafina looked down, her glowing hands folded in front of her. Finally, the queen spoke again. "You do not have to decide today. Stay among us for some time. Learn who we are. Speak with my daughter. Perhaps then your heart will tell you the right path." David nodded slowly. "All right. I'll stay for now." The queen smiled warmly. "That is all I ask." She gestured for Serafina to step forward. The princess walked up to David. Her movements were graceful, almost like music. She looked directly into his eyes and said softly, "I will show you our world." Her voice was calm, but there was a spark of curiosity in it. David could tell she didn't completely agree with the queen's plan either. She seemed as unsure as he was. They left the chamber together and entered what looked like a garden made of light. The plants weren't green. They were crystal-like structures that glowed in different colors. Small energy forms like floating butterflies moved between them. Serafina pointed at one of them. "We call them looms," she said. "They feed on warmth, not food. Everything here is alive, even light." David looked around in wonder. "It's beautiful," he said honestly. Serafina smiled faintly. "You speak from the heart. I can see why my mother believes in you." David laughed softly. "I wish I believed in me too." She looked at him curiously. "On your planet, are people afraid to believe in themselves?" "Most of the time," he admitted. "We think too much and feel too little." Serafina was silent for a moment. Then she said quietly, "Maybe that is why the stars sent you here." They continued walking through the glowing garden, talking about their worlds. David told her about Earth, the oceans, the mountains, the cities, and the simple joy of rain. Serafina listened with wide eyes, amazed by the idea of so much water and sound. In return, she showed him how Lyrians shared thoughts through music-like energy. David could feel emotions and images in her word. It was beautiful and peaceful. By the time they returned to the crystal hallway, David's fear had softened. He still didn't know what the future held, but he was no longer certain he wanted to run away. As they walked back, Serafina turned to him and said softly, "Maybe destiny is not something we choose, but something we learn to accept." David looked up at the stars beyond the glass ceiling. For the first time, he wondered if destiny had truly brought him here, or if it was the stars answering a dream he had long forgotten. David Kahn had now spent several days, or what felt like days, on the Lyrian ship. He still couldn't understand how time worked there. There was no sunrise or sunset, no clocks, only a gentle glow that brightened and dimmed with the rhythm of life around him. Yet he was beginning to adjust. Every morning, if morning could be called that, Serafina came to visit him. At first, their meetings were quiet and formal. She would walk beside him, showing him the strange places inside the ship, the halls of light, the floating gardens, and the energy chambers that powered the entire vessel. The ship was alive in its own way. It hummed softly as if it breathed. Sometimes David thought it even responded to Serafina's voice. The lights around her would shine brighter when she spoke. The more time he spent with her, the more David realized that Serafina was not only beautiful but also kind and curious. She wanted to know everything about Earth. "What is it like to see an ocean?" she once asked him while they stood by a window watching distant stars drift by. David smiled. "It's endless. You can stand on the beach and see nothing but water touching the sky. The waves sing all the time and it's peaceful and wild together." Serafina looked amazed. "I would like to see that one day," she said softly. "Our world has no oceans, only light rivers that flow through the air." David nodded. "Maybe one day when our worlds meet you will." She smiled gently. It was the first time he had seen her smile like that, warm, real, and not royal. It made him feel strangely calm. As days passed, David began learning the Lyrian way of communication. They didn't always speak with words. Instead, they shared thoughts through something like gentle music. At first it was confusing for him, but Serafina was patient. "Do not force your mind," she told him kindly. "Let your feelings flow like sound." When she placed her hand lightly on his forehead, he suddenly heard her voice inside his thoughts. Not in words, but in feelings. He could sense her calmness, her curiosity, and her gentle hope that he would understand. It was a strange but peaceful experience. For the first time, David realized how quiet true understanding could be. There were no arguments or misunderstandings when thoughts were shared through emotion instead of speech. After that, they started to talk this way often, in a soft link of thoughts and feelings. Through this, Serafina learned how humans felt joy, sadness, and fear, while David learned how the Lyrians felt harmony, unity, and respect for all living energy. One day, while they were walking through the crystal garden, Serafina asked him a question that surprised him. "Are you angry with my mother for asking you to marry me?" David stopped and looked at her. Her tone was gentle, not offended, just honest. He sighed. "I'm not angry, just confused. Back on Earth, marriage means a lot of things: love, choice, family. It's not something you decide in a day." Serafina nodded slowly. "For Lyrians, it means something different. It means trust between two souls. My mother believes you were sent by destiny. I don't know what I believe yet." Her honesty made David smile. "That makes two of us." She laughed softly, the sound like wind chimes. "Then maybe we should both learn what destiny truly means." From that day onward, their friendship began to grow deeper. They spent long hours talking, sometimes about their world, sometimes about their dreams. David told her about his childhood, about his father who taught him how to use a telescope, and about the nights he used to sleep on the roof just to watch the stars. Serafina told him about her lessons in the royal chambers, about how she was taught to control energy with her mind and heal through sound. She had never left the Lyrian ship. Her whole life had been among stars and light. "I used to look at your planet from far away," she confessed. "It looked so blue, so full of life. I always wondered what it felt like to walk on ground and feel wind through hair." David smiled kindly. "It feels simple and real. Sometimes we forget how beautiful it is until we lose it." She looked at him for a long time and said softly, "Maybe that is what connects us. You who longs for the stars, and me, who longs for the earth." As time went by, the Lyrians began to notice the bond forming between them. Even the queen seemed pleased, though she stayed silent most of the time. Some members of the royal council, however, were not happy. They whispered among themselves, wondering if a human could ever be part of their royal family. But Serafina didn't let those whispers bother her. She continued spending time with David, showing him how to move through their world with ease. She even taught him how to touch the streams of light, glowing rivers that flowed through the air and connected the ship's energy. When he first tried, the stream sparkled under his hand and formed small waves. Serafina laughed with delight. "See? It responds to your spirit," she said. David smiled proudly. "Maybe it likes me. Or maybe," she said softly, "you are learning to listen." Her words stayed with him. He realized that the more he listened, not just with his ears but with his heart, the more he began to feel connected to everything around him. The ship no longer felt strange. It felt alive, like it welcomed him. One evening, as they sat by the grand observation window watching the blue glow of Earth far below, David asked, "Serafina, do you believe in love?" She looked at him quietly, her eyes glowing with soft silver light. "Our kind does not love the way humans do," she said. "We feel unity, peace, and connection. But what you call love, I think I am beginning to understand it." David smiled faintly. "And what do you think it feels like?" She thought for a moment. "Like the stars inside you are awake. Like you are not alone anymore." Her words touched him deeply. He didn't reply, but his heart felt warm. For the first time since leaving Earth, he wasn't afraid. He felt seen, not as a visitor, not as a chosen one, but as himself. The silence between them was peaceful. The stars outside seemed to shine brighter, as if listening. That night, when David lay in his chamber, he couldn't stop thinking about her. He knew their worlds were completely different. But somehow they understood each other better than anyone else could. Maybe destiny wasn't about rules or prophecies. Maybe it was about two souls finding light in the same darkness. And deep inside, David felt something new growing. A quiet hope that perhaps he wasn't just brought here by chance. Perhaps he and Serafina were both part of something that could truly unite their worlds. Days turned into weeks, though David still couldn't measure time on the Lyrian ship. Every moment felt endless and still, like living inside a dream that never ended. By now he had learned much about the Lyrians, their ways, their language, their energy, and their silence. He had also learned much about himself. He was no longer the scared young man who had followed a strange light on a hill. He had grown calm, thoughtful, and deeply connected to a world far beyond Earth. But even as peace filled his heart, a quiet storm was building around him. Not all Lyrians accepted him. In the beginning, most had stayed silent, watching him from a distance. But now whispers had started to spread across the ship, whispers of doubt, fear, and anger. Some said that a human could never be trusted with royal destiny. Others feared that his presence might bring imbalance to their world. David could feel it in the air, the tension, the unease. The light around him no longer shone as warmly as before. One morning, as he walked through the crystal garden, two members of the royal council appeared before him. Their eyes glowed with cool silver light, and their expressions were serious. "Human," one of them said in a calm but cold voice, "your presence has disturbed the harmony of our people. The Queen believes in the prophecy, but we do not." David took a slow breath. "I never wanted to cause any trouble," he said softly. "I didn't even choose to come here." The second council member replied, "Then perhaps you should not stay. Our future cannot be guided by an accident." Before David could respond, Serafina arrived. She stepped between them, her eyes shining bright with quiet strength. "Enough," she said firmly. "You forget that my mother's word is law. The human stays, by her command and by mine." The council members bowed respectfully but left with visible hesitation. David looked at her gratefully. "Thank you," he said quietly. Serafina sighed. "Do not thank me. I only spoke the truth. But the truth does not always bring peace." Later that day, the Queen summoned David to her private chamber. The room was surrounded by soft golden light that pulsed gently, as if it were alive. The Queen stood by a great window, looking out into the endless space where stars floated like lanterns. She didn't turn when she spoke. "The council grows restless," she said softly. "They fear change as all hearts do." David nodded slowly. "I don't blame them. I'm not sure I understand all this myself." Finally, the Queen turned to face him. Her eyes were full of calm wisdom. "You have brought light into my daughter's heart, David Khan. That alone tells me the prophecy was true. But I will not force destiny upon you. Today you must make your choice." David's chest tightened. "Choice?" he repeated. "Yes," the Queen said. "You may return to Earth if you wish. I can erase the memory of this world from your mind. You will wake on your planet unharmed as if none of this ever happened." He stared at her, unable to speak. "Or," she continued, "you may stay here, with my daughter, and with our people. If you choose to remain, your life will never be the same. You will never see your home again, but you will be part of something greater than any one world." The silence that followed was heavy. David's heart felt torn in two. He thought of Earth, his home, his family, his friends, his old telescope still waiting by his window. But then he thought of Serafina, her kindness, her laughter, and the peace he felt when he was near her. "May I speak with her before I decide?" he asked softly. The Queen nodded. "Of course. It is her destiny as much as it is yours." David found Serafina in the Garden of Light sitting near the glowing streams. The air shimmered around her softly. She looked peaceful, yet there was sadness in her eyes. When she saw him, she stood up. "My mother spoke to you," she said quietly. He nodded. "Yes, she told me I have to decide. We stay or go." Serafina lowered her gaze. "I knew this day would come." David took a step closer. "What do you want me to do?" She hesitated. "I want you to be free. You never asked for this. You should return home." Her words were gentle, but her voice trembled slightly. David looked at her for a long moment. "Is that truly what you want?" Serafina's eyes glowed faintly. "What I want does not matter. I am bound by duty. My people need peace, and I must follow my mother's command." He shook his head. You're more than a duty, Serafina. You're someone who makes me feel alive again. She looked at him in surprise, her silver blue eyes widening slightly. He smiled sadly. Before I came here, I used to look at the stars every night. I thought they were cold and far away. But now I know they can be warm too. You showed me that. For a moment, neither spoke. The only sound was the soft hum of light around them. Finally, Serafina whispered, If you stay, you will lose everything you knew. And if I go, he said softly, I will lose everything I have found. Her eyes filled with quiet emotion. David, our worlds are too different. Maybe, he said gently, but hearts aren't. That night, David couldn't sleep. He sat by the window watching the blue glow of Earth far below. So close yet unreachable. He thought of the life he had before, the quiet nights, the dreams of stars, the questions he had always asked. Now, he had his answers. The universe wasn't empty. It was full of life, full of meaning. And among all that vastness, he had found something more powerful than science or prophecy, a connection that felt true. When dawn came, or what the Lyrians called the light rise, he went back to the Queen's chamber. She stood waiting, her robe flowing like liquid silver. You have chosen, she asked calmly. David took a deep breath. Yes, he said, the Queen's eyes softened. And your heart? He looked up at her, his voice firm. It tells me that some journeys are meant to change who we are. I will stay. For a moment, the Queen said nothing. Then she smiled, a smile of deep relief and gratitude. Then let it be so, she said. You have chosen the path of unity. When David told Serafina his decision, she didn't speak at first. Her eyes glowed like starlight, and then for the first time she smiled without fear. Then destiny was right, she whispered. Two souls, one bond, David smiled back. Maybe destiny just needed a little courage. As they stood together under the glowing dome of stars, the entire ship hummed with soft energy, as if the universe itself approved of his choice. In that moment, David knew he had done the right thing. He didn't just stay for the prophecy. He stayed for the truth he had found. He was no longer just a visitor from Earth. He was part of something greater, a story that connected two worlds through heart, peace and light. The day of the ceremony arrived, and the Lyrian ship seemed to shimmer brighter than ever. Every corner glowed with soft colors that shifted like the northern lights. The air vibrated gently, filled with a calm energy that wrapped around everyone present. Even the council members who had doubted David looked on quietly, unable to hide a hint of awe. David Khan stood beside Princess Serafina in a grand hall made entirely of crystal and light. The walls pulsed softly with warmth, and the floor beneath them reflected stars, as if they were standing among the galaxies themselves. Serafina's eyes met his, and for a moment, nothing else existed. She was radiant, not just because of her royal presence, but because she had chosen to be here when with him. David felt the same way. He realized that all the fear, confusion, and doubt from the past weeks had led him to this very moment. The alien queen approached, her flowing silver robe shining like liquid moonlight. Her voice echoed softly, carrying a peaceful strength. Today we witness the union that was written among the stars centuries ago, she said. This bond is not only between two beings, but also between two worlds. With courage and understanding, this union will bring harmony and hope. David took a deep breath. He felt nervous, but it was a different kind of nervousness. One that carried excitement, joy, and a sense of purpose. The ceremony began simply. There were no loud sounds, no grand displays of fireworks. Instead, a gentle melody filled the air, created by the Lyrian's energy. A song made of thought, feeling, and light. The sound wasn't just heard, it was felt. It touched David's heart, bringing tears to his eyes. Serafina stepped closer, holding his hand. The moment their fingers touched, soft streams of light connected them, weaving through the air and into the walls, as if the universe itself was acknowledging their bond. You are ready, David Khan? The Queen asked softly. I am, he replied, his voice steady. Serafina's hand tightened around his. And you, Serafina? She smiled gently. I am ready. The Queen raised her hands, and a circle of light surrounded them. The streams of energy from the walls flowed into the circle, spinning like tiny stars joining together. This is the unity bond, the Queen said. It is not about possession or command. It is about understanding, compassion, and trust. From this moment forward, your hearts and thoughts will guide each other, and your worlds will share peace. David felt warmth flow through his body. The sensation was not physical pain or pleasure, but something deeper, a feeling of connection that reached every part of him. He could sense Serafina's thoughts gently touching his, like a soft wind brushing against his soul. When their hands fully joined, the streams of light brightened and spiraled into the dome above, forming a glowing bridge that connected the ship to Earth. David gasped. The stars outside twinkled brighter than ever, and the blue glow of his home planet seemed to shimmer in response. He realized that he was no longer just a visitor from Earth. He was now part of something bigger, something eternal, a link between two worlds that had once been strangers to each other. After the ceremony, the Queen smiled at them, her eyes soft with pride. "You have done what few could ever imagine. You have brought hearts together, and in doing so you have given hope to our people." The council members stepped forward one by one. Some bowed, some placed their hands together in respect. "Your choice is wise," one of them said quietly. "Perhaps humans are not as different as we thought." David and Serafina exchanged a glance. They didn't need words to understand the weight of this moment. They had faced fear, doubt, and uncertainty. Yet here they stood together, creating a new beginning. In the following weeks, David and Serafina worked together to unite their worlds. They sent messages to Earth, not in words humans could fully understand yet, but through feelings of peace and curiosity. People on Earth began to notice unusual phenomena: calm thoughts, moments of clarity, and dreams filled with beautiful stars. Gifts from the Lyrians. Guided by the unity bond, Serafina, too, learned much from David. She discovered the beauty in small human actions: laughter, music, and the quiet patience of everyday life. In turn, David mastered Lyrian energy techniques, learning to move streams of light, heal small injuries, and even communicate through emotion. They became partners in every sense, their bond growing stronger with each passing day. Even the Lyrian people who had once doubted David began to see the value of human connection. They realized that courage, kindness, and understanding were not limited to one species. Slowly, trust spread across the ship like sunlight over water. One evening, as David and Serafina stood on a balcony overlooking the vast expanse of space, he spoke softly. "I never imagined this life. I thought I would be lost forever among stars I couldn't understand." Serafina leaned close, her light brushing gently against him. "And yet here you are. Not lost, but chosen. By destiny, yes, but also by your own heart," David smiled. "I've learned that sometimes the right choice isn't the easiest one. I had to leave everything I knew to find something I never expected." Serafina nodded, her eyes reflecting the glow of distant planets. "And now we have both worlds ahead of us. Not as strangers, but as partners. Not as separate beings, but as part of something greater." They stood together in silence, feeling the hum of life around them. The ship, the stars, and the bridge of light connecting Earth below. It was more than just beauty. It was a promise. A promise that their bond could bring hope to two worlds that had never truly understood each other. Years passed, and David grew into his new life as a human Lyrian ambassador, bridging the gap between Earth and Lyra. Serafina became a leader not only of her people, but also a guide for humans who chose to explore the stars. Together, they built a world where curiosity, kindness, and understanding replaced fear and doubt. And even though David never forgot Earth, he realized he had found a second home, a home not limited by distant species or light years. He had found family, purpose, and love among the stars. The alien queen, watching from her throne of silver and light, whispered softly to herself one night, smiling with quiet satisfaction, "You were never chosen by chance. You were chosen by courage, and you have shown the universe what it truly means to unite hearts." David looked out from the balcony, holding Serafina's hand. The stars twinkled above, Earth glowing faintly below, and he knew that destiny had not been a command, but an invitation to trust, to care, and to grow together. He was no longer just a human student who chased a strange light one night. He was a bridge between worlds, a keeper of hope, and a witness to a universe that was far bigger and far more beautiful than he had ever imagined. And as he stood there with Serafina, David realized that some journeys do not end. They only continue, shining brighter with every choice made from the heart.